Okay, this fourth tutorial will cover how to create the steering plate and some of the other brackets that are attached to our wheel mount assembly. So I'm going to start by creating a 2D sketch. I'm going to go ahead and select this plane, and our steering plate is just a rectangle. So I like doing the 2 point in the center. It's nice to have this centered on the origin. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK. Take it out of the rectangle tool. We can dimension this. We'll say that this is going to be 3 inches. Zoom back out to see everything. We'll say that this side is 5 inches. And you notice that when I put my original rectangle in, it doesn't matter how I put it in, the dimensions is what's going to drive the way this thing looks. Okay, I'm going to get out the dimension tool. I'll finish the sketch. I'm going to push away so I can see the dimensions. So now I can go ahead, select this geometry and extrude it. And I'll say it's 0.75 inches thick. So that's my little steering plate, and it may be ½ an inch thick, but you guys can find the real dimensions by measuring. So I'm going to come up here. I've already got this titled, so I'll make sure I hit save for this model. There's a couple other brackets that we're going to go ahead and sketch. So you can come over here to this menu and do new part every time, or you can just come to right here to this little white piece of paper, and that's going to start the same thing. So I'm going to new part right there. There's a small little angle piece, and this will give me opportunity to talk about making a different sketch. And this is in the lower part of the bracket, and this is in an L shape. So I'm going to start my line tool, and every time I click, I'm going to put this line, it'll kind of snap to the vertical axis. When I come down here to the origin, it turns green and it snaps there. I go this way, and if I get close to the line, it's going to snap and make it horizontal for me. And there's a little perpendicular symbol that'll appear right up in here. So it's telling me those lines are perpendicular. So I click there to put a point. I come up here, and you can see when it gets to 90, it snaps in there. So it comes over this way. And when I get up, it tells me when I get parallel with that other line. So I click there, and then click to close my geometry. So I made a little L shape. And once again, this is nothing close to the dimensions or what it really looks like. But when we add the dimensions to it, that's what's going to drive what this thing really looks like. So we'll say that this is an eighth of an inch thick. And this part right here will also be 0.125, an eighth. And then this side, I think is actually close to 1.5 inches. It's much bigger. And this side down here, don't know, we'll just say 2 inches. So zoom out to see my regular. So this is my kind of rectangular profile. Let me go ahead and finish sketch. And now I'm going to select this geometry. I'm going to extrude this. We'll say it's a good maybe 3 inches tall. Hit the check mark. So I can come here and use my mouse wheel to zoom out. I lost my piece, so it's easy to go up to the home and pulls it back in. Now one of the things on this piece is you notice that this edge right here is rounded. That's called a fillet. And this edge right here is rounded. So I'm going to grab this corner of my model tree and kind of move it around so I can see better what I'm looking at. So to round this, we're just going to use the fillet tool. So just select it up here on our 3D model tab, and we come over here and select this line, and it's going to round it by 0.125 inches, and that's great. And while still selected, I can select any other edge I want to put that curvature, that fillet on there. So I'll do this one. I just notice to do an external one and an internal. So I'll check mark both of those, come back up here to my home view, and now you can see that that's curved in there, and this is curved. Well, so this will be, we'll call this bracket 1. Bracket 1 right there. I already made one of these, so we'll just go ahead and replace it with this one. The next thing, there's a little piece that goes along the bottom here, and I can't remember how big this was. So you come here to your extrusion, say show dimensions, and it reminds me that's 1.5 inches. So when I make my new part, my next part, I just got to remember that there's 1.5 inches dimension that I have to match with this bracket number 1. So my next part is going to be bracket number 2. It goes on the bottom. These are just things we added on to make it fit at the last minute. This is just going to be a little rectangular piece. So I'll do my center rectangle. Right click and say OK, and then it's all about the dimensions. And this is 1.5, and this I have no idea. We'll just call this 1 inch. Okay, finish that sketch, and we'll extrude this just to be 0.125. It's a thin piece of metal. So this is going to be my bracket number 2. So I'll save this as bracket 2. Once again, I already made one of these, but it's really easy. And I think this one actually has a hole in it. I think this is what we bolted to part of our steering assembly. So let me come in here. I'll make another sketch on this face. So I'm going to select that face. It brings up my sketch tab. I can select my circle tool. I'll make a circle wherever I want to. Right click and OK to get out of the circle tool. And then I come up here to the dimension. And this is a pretty skinny hole that we drilled in here. So we'll say this is 0.125. It's a nice small hole. And then I want to locate this. We'll select this top edge to the center of the circle. We can say that's 0.5 inches. Puts it right there in the center. We can go from this edge to the center of the circle. We'll say that's 1 inch. Oops, down here, 1 inch. Okay. Actually wanted. Yeah, that's fine. We can leave it right there. If you need to change it, you can change it. We'll say finish sketch. And now I'm going to take this circle, select this. We're going to extrude it. And it wants to know if I'm going to extrude outside of the circle or if I'm going to extrude the material inside the circle. So I'm going to take this. I want to go the opposite direction. And instead of just remembering how thick I made this and going that same distance, I'm going to say go to the next surface. That way if I change my mind and change this distance in here, this hole will just match it because it goes to whatever this next surface is. I don't have to match up or remember what the depth or what the thickness of the material is. So you can hit OK over here, hit the green check mark, and now I've got my hole. I can click on the top view. You can see that that hole goes all the way through. And I think there's actually, so let me go ahead and save that. And I think there's actually one more little bracket off the steering bar that we have to create. And once you know how to do these, it goes this quick. This was just a little 3/16 inch piece of flat rod. And I think this was just 3/4 of an inch wide. Maybe 1.5 inches long. Okay, so I'll come up here to hit finish sketch. Click on this profile and extrude. I think this was 3/16 of an inch thick. So that's going to be 0.1875. And this also had a hole in it. So to create the hole, I'm going to do another sketch on this surface. Use my circle tool to make a hole. Right click to get out of the circle tool, and then I'm going to dimension it. We'll say that this was 0.125. Small little hole in there. And then we're going to locate this hole. So we'll say that this is 0.25. Let's go 0.5. What's the middle over here? I'm trying to get the middle of the plate. I can't remember what it was. Okay, so I can't remember what this length was. My memory's failing me. This is 0.75. So I can right click and just escape out of that. So I need this dimension to be 0.375 to put it in the middle there. And then I'm not sure how far down from the edge it was. We'll say just a 1/4 inch from the end. And once you have these dimensions, the great thing is that you can kind of just keep. I don't want that one. Once you have these dimensions, you can just keep moving them around wherever you like them. And you can go in and edit these things and change them to be whatever they actually are. So I'm going to finish that sketch, and now I'm going to take this circle, and these dimensions are showing because I still have the show dimensions selected. Okay, on my original sketch, which is inside here. Dimensional visibility is selected. Okay. So if you don't want those, you can go back in there and uncheck these. Well, it's not going to let me uncheck it. Anyway, so I need my second sketch. I'm going to take this. Where did my second sketch go? That's my extrusion, not my first sketch. Okay. Alright. Sorry. So I'm going to finish that sketch. I'm going to select that circle. I'm going to do an extrude on that circle. No, that's the whole thing. Okay, I don't know why it's not letting me select. Okay, there it goes. Sometimes it's acting weird, you just have to back out and try again. So I'm going to select the circle. I want to go the opposite direction. I want to go to the next surface. Okay. So we're going to save this as bracket 3. Okay, and that should be all the parts that we need. The next video will assemble the rest of these onto the wheel mount assembly.